What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel, or welcome to Manta XP. If it's your first time here, please consider subscribing to the channel. So today, this video inspiration kind of came from me and my nephew talking over the weekend. We were just talking about different video game weapons, and I was looking up like what are some of the best weapons of all time that people kind of consider for their games. Now, what we're going to be going over today is the most quote-unquote iconic weapons list done by IGN. And now, iconic, if you want to think about it, there may be some weapons that are technically stronger, more powerful, or whatever, more people like them in other games, but iconic is more so it's tied to the character being legendary, the video game being legendary, everything like that. It ties it all together to kind of determine what is an iconic weapon, right? So a lot of these weapons may not be super spectacular, but a lot of them are just, iconic because of the video game being strong, the main character being strong, and very recognizable and iconic in themselves. So it kind of all blends together. So again, like I said, if you're new to the channel, consider hitting that subscribe button, leave a like on this video, and let's get right into this list. So like I said, we're over here on IGN and we're looking at their most iconic video game weapons. So we'll start with number 10, and what they have here is the gravity gun from Half-Life. Now I know Half-Life, Half-Life 2 are both legendary games from Valve. I've never played them, but the first thing I thought when I saw this was, so that's where they got the inspiration for Portal. This looks exactly like the Portal gun, except instead of just shooting portals and everything, you're picking up objects and shooting them around. Now in Portal, you could also do that. I think in Portal 2 only, but you could not only just make portals, but you could pick up objects, send them out, send them around, shoot them through, and it looks very similar to this gun. So I understand this, coming from an iconic game like Half-Life, that this will make it on the list, and I have no qualms with that. Moving on to number 2, they have the energy sword from Halo. Now in the first Halo, you weren't able to use the energy sword, but you did have to fight elites that were able to wield it. So in Halo 2, being able to wield it just changed the landscape of the game, especially when it came to online play. The ability to, once you have a red reticle, you can just launch into your enemies and they can try to stop you. You might both get killed, one of you might get killed, who knows. But the energy sword just being a one-hit kill, the cool assassinations you could do from behind, pause, just really made it really iconic. It's just a super staple in the video game industry. Halo and a lot of other lists I've seen had a few different weapons on their list. They had probably like 3 or 4, like the battle rifle, the needler, the gravity hammer, everything like that. Of course, IGN didn't want to put too many weapons from the same franchise on here, but the energy sword being at number 9, honestly, I think it could have been a little higher. I'm not gonna lie. It has an argument to be top 4 or 3 in my opinion, but again, this is IGN's list, so they have it at number 9, and that's what we'll just go with. So of course, the main thing with Assassin's Creed is to be, sneaky, going through, being able to pull off these assassinations and not being, found out. So of course, a hidden blade makes sense to be in the game, and it changed as the years went on and the series went on. You had different types of hidden blades, different ways and different animations of how you kill people. So I can see this, again, Assassin's Creed being an iconic franchise at this point, I can see this weapon making it onto the list at number 8. Now next up at number 7, we have another one that I disagree with the placement. I think Scorpion's, get over here spear is way more iconic than being this low on the list. To me, like, even if you didn't play Mortal Kombat, or you might just seen people playing it, everybody's walking around in school saying, "Get over here." Like, it was just like a thing you just walked around and did. Like, it's just an iconic, not just the move, but the phrase itself. They threw it in the movie. There's, like I said, it had impact on kids doing it. It's just iconic. I think number 7 is way too low, but again, it is what it is. I think this has an argument to be top 2, to be honest. Like, maybe because it's not just the weapon. I guess when you're talking about the move as a whole, you would say it's way more iconic, but it is what it is. But Scorpion Spear makes it on the list at number 7. Now, the Doom franchise is no stranger to really funny acronyms, as well as, being crude and violent. And now on number 6, we have the BFG 9000, and BFG stands for Big Effing Gun. Okay, now this gun is, as you see, you just shoot a giant plasma beam and just kills everything in one shot. A lot of these weapons are, just over the top one shot kills. It also made its way to Quake 2 and the Quake franchise. So the gun, it was in the Doom movie. It's just, again, one of those iconic franchises, and as you see here on the screen, it just decimates everything in its path. Kind of overpowered, but again, that's what you like. You gotta obviously unlock it. You don't get it from the beginning, but that makes it on the list, of course. The BFG, the big effing gun. Next up at number 5 is a game from a franchise that I personally have been wanting to get into. I just haven't pulled the trigger on. I know Kingdom Hearts 2 is a lot of people's favorite game of all time. Iconic soundtrack. My friend actually sampled that song. One of the main themes from that song for J. Cole on his first album. But we have the Keyblade coming in at number 5. While there are a number of Keyblades, different upgrades, different versions of it, the Kingdom Key is just known as the most iconic in the franchise. Everyone notices it. Everyone, if you saw it, Sora, you have him with that big Keyblade walking around. So again, Kingdom Hearts, legendary franchise, the Keyblade, one of the most recognizable, and of course, Kingdom Hearts 2 being considered one of the top video games of all time, the Keyblade had to make it on the list. At number 4, we have the Mega Buster from Mega Man. Now, again, iconic. Nothing I name has been something that someone or the average video game player, whether they played the game or not, wouldn't recognize. The Mega Buster, while originally just shooting pellets, they did add in Mega Man 5 the ability to shoot charge attacks. Mega Man, I did have one of the Mega Man games on PSP, as well as the Battle Network game. I think it was Battle Network 5 on the GBA. So I played Mega Man a decent amount. I use him in Smash as well. And the cool thing about the Mega Buster, not only did they upgrade it, but Mega Man's ability to attach and, absorb different people's or robots, I don't know what they're actually called, sorry, but grab their weapon and attach it to his own and then have their abilities just made him really cool. Then the Mega Buster, of course, being from Capcom, had to make its way into Devil May Cry 5. So with Nero, of course, losing his arm, having the Mega Buster attachment, it was part of DLC. It was just one of the coolest crossovers. I feel like the Mega Buster was also in Dead Rising, which is another Capcom game. So as you can see, even Capcom knows how iconic it is, putting it in other franchises of theirs, and it's just here to stay. The Mega Buster is super cool, super iconic, and it definitely deserves to be number 4 on this list. All right, now we're getting to top 3 territory here, and we got the Blades of Chaos from God of War. I've seen a lot of lists have the Leviathan Axe, and I just think it's too soon to have the Leviathan Axe on there. Like, it came out in God of War 2018, it was in Ragnarok, obviously, and like, yeah, it's a dope weapon. How you could call it back to you, kind of like Thor's hammer and everything like that. But the Blades of Chaos is where it all started for God of War. The original trilogy of God of War, you had the Blades of Chaos given to Kratos as a weapon from the gods, and it just was gruesome. Blades, flames, slicing enemies apart, swinging them around, fighting bosses, everything like that. Kind of just these whips. Like when they came back in God of War 2018, I'm sure everybody just freaked out when they saw them show up on screen. They're just, again, one of the most iconic weapons. Really brought the action hack and slash genre to the next level. The big bosses, being able to fight them just as a regular person, but just using these 2 blades attached to chains with flames coming out of them is just iconic stuff. At number 2, we have the Buster Sword from Final Fantasy VII. Again, a game that is considered one of the tops ever of all time. Cloud and Sephiroth being some of the most famous, characters or video game characters of all time. Of course, the Buster Sword had to make it on here. Now, the origins of it, you'd have to play, Crisis Core to kind of get that, but the Buster Sword just being this giant blade with a certain shape to it. It has the spots in it to add materia. It's just, again, legendary character. Just legendary weapon, of course. Number 2 on the iconic list. Wouldn't have it any other way. And then at the number 1 spot, this one should not surprise anybody, but we have the Master Sword, of course. Just that legendary Evil's Bane, as it's known in most of the franchises. Every time you get the Master Sword, it's just legendary. I believe Link to the Past was the first game with it, but every time you got it, it was just that magic moment. We know Zelda's pretty formulaic. Every time you played a Zelda game, you knew you were going to get the Master Sword at some point. You know, you was going to play the first 3 or so dungeons and then open up a path to get to the Master Sword, pull it out of this pedestal that it's in, or unlock it or whatever, and then take that and be able to complete your journey as you need it to. There's been different iterations of it, but it always has that iconic blade with the purple wings type things coming out the hilt, and just, man, the Master Sword just gives you goosebumps, man. Listen, I was one of those people that almost bought the replica to go right there, right next to that Hylian shield right there, that $200 one, but I held off. I was, had some type of self-restraint, decided not to buy it, but I'm not surprised or mad at all that the Master Sword made it at #1 on the list. And that's the list. That's the top 10 they had. As far as what was left off, like I said, they didn't want to put too many from the same franchise. Like other lists I've seen, a bunch of Halo weapons and things like that. I think some of the Devil May Cry weapons should have been on there as well. So like the Rebellion or Agni and Rudra, or actually those would be Yamamoto or the Yamato, however you say it. Sorry, that Virgil's weapon, like something from Devil May Cry definitely should have made it on there. But either way, I'm satisfied with the list. Y'all let me know in the comment section below what you think was missing from the list. Did IGN get it right as far as iconic? Or just let me know what's your favorite video game weapon of all time. Let me know. Sound off in the comments down below. As always, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Leave a like, and I'll catch you on the next video.